guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching me from. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be talking about how to change from a visitor visa to a work or study permit in Canada. Okay? So that's what we'll be talking about today. So if you have a visitor visa and you are in Canada and you're thinking of changing your status legally to remain in Canada, I have good news for you. Stay to the end of this video and you will not regret it. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do well to subscribe to my channel. Hit the like button. Turn on the notification button so that when I drop content like this, you will be the first to know. Okay? So, and if you have been here with me, thank you for standing by me. Thank you for staying here with me. Without wasting much of your time, I will get right into it on how to change from a visitor visa to a work or study permit in Canada. Are you excited? Let's get right into it. 'Cause you know the world is beautiful, so beautiful. 'Cause you know the world is beautiful, so beautiful. Okay, guys, so the first thing to note is that a visitor visa alone is not a permit. It's not a permanent relocation visa. So it's important to be sure you have what it takes, right, to change your status. Okay. So oftentimes people will ask, they will ask questions on how they can, if they get a visitor visa, does that mean they can work when they come here? And some people, they have the visitor visa and they're looking for a way to change that visitor status to a temporary residence status, maybe like a work permit or a study permit, so they can stay here in Canada and get their permanent resident or even citizenship eventually. So I know the intention is always to stay back, which is great, but people want to stay back legally, and these two things are very much legal. You can stay here and study, and you can stay here to work. So either way, that is good. So I'm just going to be talking about those 2 points. I'm going to be talking about both the visitor visa to work permit and visitor visa to study permit in this video. So stay tuned while we talk about it. Okay. Now, before I start, it's important to know that a visitor visa it doesn't permit you to actually work here. It doesn't permit you to study. Also, when a visitor comes in here, comes into Canada, is only allowed to stay for 6 months. You're stamped in to stay 6 months. So what that means is that even if you have a 10 years visa, because sometimes people get a 10 years visa, some people get a 5 years visa. So even if you have a 5 years visa, that does not mean you can come to Canada and stay for 5 years. It does not mean that you can come to Canada and stay for 10 years. So you come to Canada, they will stamp you in for 6 months. Now, when you come in here, you're not expected to work. You're not supposed to work. You're not supposed to use that study visa, visitor visa to study. Only if the period of study is 6 months. That way you can use that visa, the visitor visa, to do a 6-month course. Anything other than that, you need a study permit to study. So also, even if you're stamped in, the good news is that even if you're stamped in 6 months and you are still trying to sort out your admission, or you're still trying to sort out your work with LMIA, you can still extend. In my previous video, I had explained how you can extend that 6 months to another 6 months. You just keep extending it. So if you check on my videos, I had previously, given a step-by-step on how to extend your stay in Canada. So firstly, let's talk about visitor visa to work permit. On a visitor visa, those on visitor visa can apply for a work permit after getting an eligible job. So it means that if you are on a visitor visa and you want to work, you need a work permit. And for you to get that work permit, you need a job. You need an eligible job, not just any job, eligible job. So the temporary policy, allowing this has been extended. I remember it was extended previously the other year. And also it was again extended to February 28, 2025. So this temporary policy will be in effect. It will continue to be in effect. It will continue to, assist people instead of going back to your country to apply for your study permit or to apply for your work permit. You can now stay in Canada and do this application while you are still inside Canada. So this temporary policy will continue to allow you to do so until February 28, 2025. So I will leave a link on this particular information. I will leave it in the description of this video. So to do this, the visitor who is on a visitor visa must have a valid visitor status. So it means that you must not have stayed over that 6 months. Remember, not just the visa on your passport, but you must not have overstayed. You must have a valid visitor visa, and you must have a valid job offer, mostly supported by LMIA from an employer or a job exempted from LMIA. Okay. You must apply for an employer-specific work permit. So you don't go applying for open work permit, you will be refused. You have to apply for an employer-specific work permit. So it means that this work permit is not an open work permit, it's a closed work permit. So what this means is that if you are a visitor in Canada, you cannot legally work with that visitor visa alone. You must first get a valid job offer, get the LMIA you will likely need through the employer, apply for it, and get a work permit. So take note of the following and take note of this and plan accordingly. Take note of what I've just said and plan it accordingly. The labor market impact assessment is what will show that there is a need for a foreign worker, because when an employer is giving you an offer here, it means that the employer is telling the government that there is nobody inside Canada that is able to do this job, and that is why they are bringing someone from outside Canada to fill this gap. It will show that no Canadian worker is available to do the job after the job has been advertised for some time. So it's not like it's right there waiting. And the process of getting an LMIA is very possible. But as you may already be thinking, it is not an easy hurdle to cross. I must tell you, it is difficult to get, although it is not impossible, but it's doable. So if you and your employer then cross that hurdle, the employer wishing to hire you as a temporary foreign worker will then pay a processing fee of $1,000 for LMIA request and a privilege fee of $100, making a total of $1,100. Once you have the LMIA, you can then apply for a work visa and a work permit. Okay, so it is important to note also that it is the employer that paid the $1,100 for the LMIA. An employer can also charge the applicant for a job offer. It is against the law. An employer can also not, you cannot charge the applicant for a job offer. It is against the law. So if someone is telling you as the employer to bring money for a job offer, an LMIA in Canada, it's done these days, but it's not supposed to be so. It was supposed to be free. It's not supposed to be paid for. But yeah, these days we see things differently. So it's okay. It's okay. After getting your valid job offer and other necessary documents, like the LMIA from your employer, you can then apply for your work permit, like I said. So having said that one, I will pause. Okay. So number 2, visitor visa to study permit. So like I said, those on a visitor visa can also apply for a study permit while visiting Canada. To do this, a visitor must have a valid visitor status, just like you will have to apply for a work permit. You need to have an admission and acceptance letter from a designated learning institution, DLI. You now can apply for a study visa online, and once it's approved, you can take this approval to the border, any border of between US and Canada, and do flag pulling to get it. What this means is that applying for a study visa while visiting Canada is similar to applying from outside Canada. So the same process that you will do from outside Canada is the same thing. The same documentation is what you're going to be doing. The process is the same. The only difference is that you are in your country and you get the approval, but it's the same. Like, you still have to fill out the forms, show proof of finance, also write statement of intent, statement of purpose on why you want to study that course and why you chose that province, and all that process. So you still have to do everything as if you are outside Canada. So, but the only difference is that while you are inside here, once you get the approval, you can just go to the border and do a flag pulling to get your study permit. So that is just, it's not any different. It's not any different whether you apply for your study visa inside Canada or outside. It is the same. You must still apply for the study visa online, like I said. After your online study visa application has been approved, you'll be required to send your passport for a study visa to be attached to the passport. After that, you can then either exit or re-enter Canada by air and present yourself as a new student for a study permit to be issued, or go to a land border, a border between USA and Canada, to get the study permit through flag pulling. Okay. So, another thing you can note, that it's important to note this requirement so you can prepare ahead and plan right before making the decision to immigrate or migrate on a visitor visa. So you need to know all these things I've said. You need to be sure that it is something that you can do, and like I said, it is doable. It is 100% possible, but you need to be aware of all these things. So keep this in mind and plan accordingly. Lastly, if you are visiting Canada as the spouse of a student who is doing a program eligible for postgraduate work permit, the PGWP, if you are the spouse of an international graduate who is already on a PGWP, or you are the spouse of a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, you have an exemption. So you don't have to do all these troubles. Spouses of international students who are doing a program that is eligible for PGWP, or who already have the PGWP, or spouses of Canadian citizens and permanent residents they don't need a job offer or LMIA to get their own spousal open work permit. How sweet can that be? So guys, please keep all this in mind and do well to prepare ahead of time, prepare all these things so that you don't run into any form of pressure. So once you get into Canada with a visitor visa and you decide to change, you decide to, okay, Canada is good, I want to stay back, try to explore one of these options, either the study route, changing your visitor visa to a study, or changing it to work. Okay, so these are all you will need. This is the information you will need to get that thing sorted out. Okay, so for now, this is where we'll draw the curtain until I come your way again. To be this high, born to be this high, born to be this high.
my friend. Won't you come